What is happening right now is nothing short of unbelievable, and if you're a senior, a low-income American, or someone depending on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or any form of federal support, you need to stop everything and listen, because the conversation in Washington has taken a major turn that could put real money, yes, up to $2,000, back into your pocket before December even arrives. And while most Americans have no idea this discussion has quietly resurfaced, I'm going to break down exactly what sparked this renewed push, why lawmakers are suddenly talking about a holiday relief check again, and what this could mean for millions of struggling households that are running out of time as inflation, rent hikes, and grocery prices continue hitting harder than ever. If you're tired, frustrated, and fed up with being ignored, this is the update you've been waiting for, because what just emerged could change everything. Now let's get into the full story, because this renewed $2,000 holiday relief proposal isn't coming out of thin air. It's been pushed back into the national conversation thanks to a combination of political pressure, end-of-year negotiations, economic concerns, and growing panic among lawmakers who realize seniors and low-income Americans are facing one of the hardest holiday seasons in over a decade. And the moment these discussions touched the table, millions of people across the country immediately started asking the same question. Is this real? Is a $2,000 holiday relief check actually possible? And more importantly, would I qualify if it gets approved? In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything. What revived the push for a holiday relief payout? Who is being discussed for automatic eligibility? Why seniors and low-income households were specifically called out in the early reports, what obstacles still stand in the way, and what the next few weeks could mean for you and your bank account. Because while nothing is guaranteed yet, the momentum behind this discussion is bigger than anything we've seen in months, and it's sparking serious conversation that didn't exist just a few weeks ago. Let's begin. Over the past several weeks, rising inflation numbers, combined with new data showing seniors are falling deeper into financial strain, have reignited pressure on lawmakers to find fast, short-term relief before the end of the year. Grocery prices have jumped again, housing costs are still climbing, prescription drug expenses haven't stopped increasing, and millions of Americans living on fixed incomes simply cannot keep up anymore. This mounting pressure has forced the issue back into national debate, especially as shocking new reports reveal that nearly 45% of seniors say they are struggling more this holiday season than last year. When this data hit Washington, it triggered a wave of concern, because ignoring seniors and low-income Americans right before the holidays is not something politicians want on their record. That's where the discussion around a potential one-time $2,000 holiday relief check resurfaced. But what's even more surprising is how direct some of these early discussions have been. Several lawmakers have openly acknowledged that seniors, disabled Americans, and low-income households have been hit the hardest. That's why these groups were the first to appear on the preliminary eligibility discussions. Nothing official is filed yet, but the very fact that this conversation explicitly mentions seniors and low-income Americans has millions of people paying attention. Because for the first time in months, the possibility of a meaningful relief payout is actually being talked about at a federal level, and that alone is a dramatic shift from the silence we've had for far too long. Now let's talk about the timing, because the timing is critical. Why is this idea being discussed right before December? Well, every year Congress enters intense budget negotiations as the year ends. This is when lawmakers argue, push, negotiate, and slip in policy additions before final agreements are made. And this is exactly the moment when new relief ideas often appear, especially if pressure from the public is high. So when the holiday relief idea popped up again, right in the middle of upcoming negotiations, it instantly became something to watch closely. Lawmakers know the window is short, and if anything is going to happen, it will need to happen quickly. One of the biggest factors driving this new momentum is the worsening economic reality facing Americans on fixed incomes. Seniors who rely on Social Security checks are reporting that their monthly payments don't stretch far enough anymore, even after the cost of living adjustment that was supposed to help. Many seniors say the adjustment didn't even cover the new expenses they're dealing with in food, fuel, and medical costs. Disabled Americans on SSDI and SSI are struggling even more, with benefits that often fall below the poverty line. These groups were already financially vulnerable before inflation hit. Now they're at the breaking point, and lawmakers know it. Combined with the political pressure of an upcoming election year, ignoring these voters is simply not an option anymore. And that's why this holiday relief conversation has returned with such force. Another major component of this discussion involves the concept of holiday economic stimulation. As strange as it sounds, economists have long argued that giving Americans a one-time payment toward the end of the year actually boosts the economy significantly. Holiday spending spikes, families catch up on bills, small businesses see increased activity, and overall economic confidence improves. Several think tanks and economic analysts have recently highlighted this again, adding fuel to the fire by showing how a targeted $2,000 holiday check focused on the most financially strained Americans could help stabilize fragile parts of the economy. When reports like these circulate, lawmakers pay attention, especially if the numbers show a short-term economic boost is possible without long-term risk. Let's now focus on the part everyone cares about most: eligibility. Early discussions suggest the groups most likely to be prioritized if this relief moves forward are seniors receiving Social Security retirement benefits, disabled individuals receiving SSI or SSDI, low-income families, and households that fall below a certain income threshold. Nothing official has been finalized, but the conversations all point to these groups being at the top of the list. Why? Because lawmakers want the money directed toward households that are most likely to spend it immediately. Low-income Americans and seniors are historically the most responsive to economic relief. They use the money right away, which is exactly what lawmakers want to see before the end of the year. Now, here's where things get complicated. Even though the conversation is gaining momentum, there are political obstacles. Some lawmakers are pushing for the relief, arguing that it's a moral and economic necessity. Others are calling for different solutions, saying the government should focus on long-term policies instead of one-time payments. But pressure is building because millions of Americans are speaking up. News outlets are reporting the struggle, advocacy groups are raising alarms, and lawmakers don't want to be held responsible for ignoring vulnerable Americans right before the holidays. This public pressure is one of the strongest forces behind the renewed discussion. When enough noise reaches Washington, things start to move, even if slowly. Another key factor is that several states have been issuing their own relief payments. This has created national attention, with many Americans asking why states can take action, but the federal government cannot. This comparison is adding more pressure at the federal level, fueling the argument that a coordinated national holiday relief payout is necessary. Whenever states move first, federal lawmakers feel obligated to at least discuss nationwide support, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Let's also talk about something that many people don't realize. Every major federal relief program in the past was introduced during moments of economic vulnerability. Whether it was stimulus checks, unemployment boosts, or emergency food assistance, these programs always started because pressure became impossible to ignore. Right now, the same pattern is forming again. Inflation, high cost of living, pressure from seniors, vocal disability advocates, and end-of-year negotiations are all combining to create the perfect storm for a new relief conversation. Now, does this guarantee a $2,000 holiday check? No, nothing is official yet. But the fact that this topic is even back in discussion, and being discussed specifically for seniors and low-income Americans, is a major shift. And when you understand how fast things can change during budget negotiations, you realize that this conversation is far from over. In fact, things could accelerate very quickly. As we move closer to December, expect more lawmakers to speak publicly. Expect more reports to emerge. Expect more pressure from advocacy groups. Expect more media attention. Because once a relief idea enters the public conversation, the momentum often grows by itself. And that is exactly what's happening right now. If this relief does move forward, seniors could see payments deposited the same way as their monthly benefits. SSI and SSDI recipients could receive automatic payouts. Low-income households could receive payments through direct deposit or mailed checks. And because the timing is tight, any approved relief would have to be processed quickly, meaning the rollout could be much faster than previous stimulus programs. This is why millions of Americans are paying attention. This is why this update matters. And this is why you cannot ignore what's happening in Washington right now.